you know. I remember having this moment where I was walking and I don't there's this card, this like Oracle ayahuasca Oracle deck, and they have like lessons and stuff. And one of them is like the beauty way, like think Lakota beauty way, that there's beauty in front of me, beauty to my right, beauty behind me, there's beauty to my left, there's beauty above me, and beauty below me, and beauty within me. And I always like thought it was like this thing that I had to train myself
Mm.
to see things as beautiful. But I was walking with Duke, and I wasn't thinking about the beauty way, but I remembered I was doing some inquiry practice where I was like, you know, where is this thought arising? Or I was like, I was like, who is aware of this thought? Or what is even aware of this thought happening? Or I can't remember what the question I asked was, but basically just the thought expressing itself in that moment of openness and of non-identification. It was, I don't even remember what the thought was, but it was so beautiful that it even happened. I was like, oh my God, it's a complete and utter mystery that thought arises from, or I think I said, like, from where is the thought arising from?
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was so mysterious and completely unknown. And something about it was just so incomprehensibly beautiful.
Good.
And in that moment, everything was just so beautiful because it was just it was a miracle.
Hmm.
Everything was coming out of nothing.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and then in that moment, it was like a lightning bolt. It was like, oh, that's the beauty way.
Yeah.
It's not training myself to see everything as beautiful, but it's just recognizing that everything in every direction is inherently beautiful. And it's like, holy fuck.
I call that, or I relate to that as what I like. I call it that the living mystery. To
Yeah.
live in the living mystery is to not identify anything, to not know anything, to not
Mhm.
know why anything is, to not know where anything is coming from, including your own thoughts. And to live in that mystery allows for the visceral beauty to blossom within you and around you, like you're
Yeah.
saying. Because you're not the mind has this tendency to assign labels to everything, and in labeling, you're encapsulating.
Mhm.
You're no longer experiencing what it is. You're experiencing your story of what it is.
Yeah.
So in that, you're taking out the mystery, you're taking out the miracle, you're taking out the magic, or at least seeming to. That's the illusion. The magic, the mystery is always what is. It's already there. It's already that living beauty that you say that
Mhm.
you're talking about. And it's this unknowability of it that is the true beauty of it.
Mhm.
Allows you to at least contact or experience the beauty of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I call it, the living mystery, and I think I just get that from like probably religious language. I've heard that being said. I don't know how they describe it, but that just seems like a like a term that applies here.
Yeah, totally. And well, and that's and that's allowing, right? That's just allowing the nature of what is in all its mystery to be.
Mm.
And then it's like, holy fuck, you know?
Yeah.
But
C-
I would like to be in that state more often than
Well,
I am.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just about feeling into the accessibility of it. It's the immediacy of it. It's that feeling when you turn the corner in Yosemite and there's just this landscape
Mm.
that you weren't expecting, because how could you? You
Mhm.
know, you couldn't label it if you tried. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And so like you and me, when we're in these spaces, we're just constantly saying, wow. You know, like
Yeah.
how many times have we been caught in these moments where
Yeah.
we say nothing except wow. And literally for like hours, we're just saying wow because we're stuck in this awe moment of indescribability. That's the living mystery. That's recognizing the inherent beauty of unknowability. There, we can't possibly encapsulate this experience in story or projection or thought or anything. We can't encapsulate this, and that's the living mystery. That's the living beauty. And so like those are those moments, those where you're just stuck in the awe
Hmm.
that like we've gotten very good at cultivating. You know what I mean? We've gotten very good at finding the doorway to awe, the living mystery, and sitting on the other side of that doorway. Like
Hmm.
when you and I are together, I haven't I haven't felt that uh in a shared experience with anybody else as frequently as I have with you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, something definitely gets magnified or like doubled when we're, or like not even doubled, it's beyond doubled, but you know what I mean?
Exponential.
Yeah.
Yeah. That dude, that's so funny you say that. In one of our recent group songs, somebody mentioned something
Yeah.
like that, and I brought up the example of Ra, and I don't know. I'm revisiting these books. Obviously, this is probably my fourth time rereading the Law of One by Ra. I don't read the whole books again. I just read the underlined portions that I underlined and
Mm,
starred and whatever. But one of the things that Ra has said is when there's two people, when there's one person looking, it's powerful. When there's two people looking, it's not a doubling effect, it's an exponential effect. When there's three people looking together,
oh,
there's this there and it keeps going. It's an exponential each time. It's not a multiplier.
hmm,
It's an exponential of the looking energy. And
mm,
and it Jesus' teaching has said something similar where wherever two meet in my name, there I am.
mm,
And it's the same. That's just kind of like a parable way of saying, a story way of saying, wherever two meet, wherever two are looking for
hmm,
me, for God, there's this exponential effect of the energy there. And
hmm,
so that's kind of that is what we're experiencing. We're experiencing this exponential effect of the living mystery
mm.
together as our awe is
Yeah.
joined, it's exponential.
And that's how I've realized that that's how the, for those that use a guru path, that's how the guru path works.
Mm,
Is it's like the guru and then the guru and then the guru. It's just like it's a telescope or like like you know like how, remember how we've talked about like certain teachers being doorways to the absolute,
totally.
and then they are just that for people. And it's like the guru relationship is like that, but strung through beings and time, where it's like when you're connected to that, it's just like, so that's what they really encourage you to like take refuge in the guru when it's a real deal, you know, that like a, not someone taking advantage, but like because then it's that multiplying effect, and then it's just like, and that's what this is something newer, but like there's something anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's also too like with like doing like shamanic journeys in a group is always so much more potent, you know. And same thing with prayer, you know,
Mm,
it's like um it's awesome. And that's what's so important with like community too. I mean, one of the many reasons why it's important with community, because it's like it's just we're never alone and we're never separate. But then when we really gather together with intention,
yep.
whew, holy fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like that's something really special. And that's why I think like, ooh, this is just a little bit of a tangent, but like I had this thought. I have like this newer professor who's like weirdly obsessed with like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and stuff, and his purpose. He got into medical, like Western medicine and Chinese medicine, so that he could help extend the lives of are geniuses so they can save humanity. And I'm just like,
Who's ascribing the genius?
yeah, right. I know. I
That
was
better be a
like,
pretty wise individual who's ever ascribing who is the genius here.
well, and I got on this like trip, and I'm just like, ah, this guy fucking sucks. But then I'm like thinking, I'm like, you know, I've I've heard it described that like the second coming of Christ is not in an individual, but it's in like um, humanity recognizing Christ within themselves as a collective entity,
Hmm.
you know, and and then and then I realized like, well, the antichrist in that would be like continuing to worship like an individual who's like celebrated in their individuality
Hmm.
as being a savior, like Trump's gonna fucking he's gonna save us, he's gonna save us, or like Elon, like he's gonna save it. We celebrate these like icons as individuals and thinking they're gonna save us, and it's like, and that's and Jesus was that back then. He was an individual, but he was tapping into the thing. He was opening the door for us to all walk through. And it's like, and as far as I've experienced, all my spiritual spirals are pulling the rug out under what worked before to move into the next thing.
Mm.
And it's just like, yeah, if the second coming of Christ is in humanity recognizing it within themselves as a community, then the Antichrist is like celebrating the individual who
Yeah,
stands as a savior,
exactly.
and
Exactly.
who's holding so desperately onto my individuality. And it's like, there you
That,
go. It's
yeah,
very
yeah.
charismatic.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. I've had these conversations with this exact conversation actually with somebody else at work, which is really funny. But you're exactly right. And like it can be very polarizing and charged to use the terms like the Christ or the Antichrist. But what we're
Yeah.
literally talking about is the polarization of energies. We're talking about an
Yeah.
energy of pure, vast, pure consciousness, full acceptance of all it is, and the contraction isolated mode of
Yeah.
of like you said, worshiping the golden calf, or
Yeah.
worshiping the individualized identity as the savior.
Yeah.
And these are the two polar opposites. They're clearly like polarizations. What's interesting is du this is one of the things that I'm a little hung up on, that I need to think about more. I need to sit with more. Does this path of pure acceptance also accept the Antichrist, or the the impetus to worship a deity, to worship an individual? Is that part of the full acceptance, or is there? It's not just. This is not just love. This is love combined with wisdom.
Mhm.
Is the evolution of spirituality.
Yeah, totally.
And so does the wisdom then cut that section off and be like, I'm sorry, you are not going with the program here. The program, I do not have to tolerate your intolerance is another way of saying this. I tolerate everything. Full tolerance of everything is what I am. However, the one thing I can't tolerate is intolerance.
That's, I think, so I try to always, I've thought about this one a lot too, and I've debated some of my friends at school about it. Like for instance, like with like Luigi, you know,
Hmm.
um,
Mangione.
yeah, half of me is like, fuck yeah, like these CEOs really should, like, they should be fucking scared, and they should be like getting the wake up call of like, people aren't going to take it anymore.
That's
And
my
then there's
natural
another
reaction
part,
too.
huh?
That's my natural reaction too.
But then there's another part of me that realizes that my healing is your healing, and your healing is my healing, and your pain is my pain,
Hmm.
and my pain is, like, and it's like, um that in my own microcosm of experience, I've never hated myself into health. And I've never hated myself into healing, you know? So acts of hate, and it's my limited experience in the microcosm, acts of hate, even, like probably don't lead to overall healing. And it's also like not being a total passive doormat,
Totally.
like in my own microcosm of healing, like I'm going to take really aggressive action if I'm in danger of dying,
Totally.
you know? Um, and or like, I'm going to take aggressive action if someone's like threatening physical harm. Then yeah, I'm going to do something.
Hmm.
Where does that lie on a microcosm to macrocosm scale? you know so when I look at it that way, I'm like, what Luigi did is probably like not the best, and also too in terms of like looking at my own microcosm of like healing and practice, and also looking at mindfulness. It's like, there's the wheel of samsara and then there's the wheel of mindfulness, and you don't try to stop the wheel of samsara, you spin the wheel of mindfulness, which goes in the opposite direction, and eventually the momentum cancels it out.
Mm.
It's the same thing with like healthy habits of like, okay, like I'm smoking and I'm drinking and I'm doing all this other stuff. There's not great habits. But if instead of trying to focus on trying to cut out my unhealthy habits, I'm just going to focus on the habits that I know are healthy and add those in and keep focusing on building and growing those until the old ones fall away,
Hmm.
and so with your question, I relate to that. What I think is it's like the community and the compassion and wisdom, it knows that that exists, and it takes action when things are a direct threat, like a real threat. Like I feel like lately,
Not a storied threat.
exactly, not
Yeah.
using the perception of a threat or like I feel like lately it's been like kind of like preemptively like being like, oh, that's a fucking, like, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Totally.
But and so but like so but this they're not even this community is not like they have one eye on them to make sure that it's like no direct harm or threat is there, but most of their energy is just focused on growing this.
Hmm.
And eventually, and that's also like Western and Eastern medicine. Like Eastern medicine, if we think of the body as being a garden, Eastern medicine is all about preventative. So I'm going to create the conditions in my garden in which disease cannot grow. And then if somehow a disease or like a weed or whatever happens, then we can use Western medicine, which is like extractive, and then like cut it out. But it's not like this malicious, like hateful thing. It's just a removing of that, you
Yeah.
know. So that's where I've been sitting, is like focus on growing the good, but and at the same time, if I'm using Chinese medicine as a model, there's like external invasions. So like you can't tonify the good if it so it's kind of like a robber in a bank thing. Like you can't lock the robber inside the house, um, and then start pumping the house full of resources. You have to kick the robber out first and then grow it. So it's, yeah, I don't have a good answer, but these are things I've been thinking about a lot.
No, and then thinking about them is part of the process too of like just maturing the wisdom here. And but I think what you said is really important and it's true in that it's important not to give all of your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like what like Trump and Elon and all these, what seems to be a potential for quote unquote the Antichrist or pro-individual uh ideology, um, it doesn't take up a whole lot of thought in my mind. It's just, but when these things are clearly present in the zeitgeist, clearly to polarizing potentials within humanity, like the acknowledgement that it exists is clearly right and correct. We can't say that this does not exist. But I think you're right. It's also not just full acceptance to the point where you allow it to persist. If there's a direct and immediate threat, you act,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, we'll see when that point comes, and hopefully hopefully that point is recognized when it's here. I it's also interesting that there's so many parallels to like what I'm revisiting in the Law of One, um, by Ra. It's there seems to be um, he outlines two distinct paths for human spirituality, and it is service to self or service to others. And service to others is not a neglect of self.
Mhm.
It is in a full embrace of self and others as oneself, as all
Yeah.
oneself. And this other path is service to self, like just me, just this self, this isolated self. And that seems to be the trajectory, the two pathways that humanity can take. And also, and also, there's all these stories about the division of Earth, the Earth dividing into two separate pathways, and
Mhm.
Bashar, for example, Bashar,
Yeah.
the channeled entity, has talked about this a little bit, and he's saying that the Earth isn't going to actually rip in half, but it's two different consciousnesses which will become so divergent, the service to self path or the service to others path, will become so divergent in their frequencies that they will literally become two separate parallel realities
Wow.
to where and parallel realities isn't necessarily that one can't see the other.
Yeah.
It's just that energetically and vibrationally they don't affect each other. It's like there's a glass separator, a glass divide between the two. And so you can coexist on Earth, but the energies of each isn't permeating the other to where either can be captured. There's an
That's
actual
a cell
divide.
dividing.
Yeah, that's a cell dividing. Exactly, exactly.
The way I like a visual way of this I've thought or like have actually seen in like a ceremony vision is humanity one becoming like alien grays where they upload their consciousness into like biomech bodies,
Hmm.
and then the other being like Sasquatch people like fully embedded in the earth and in earth magic, like, and they're just totally separate and they have like
Yeah.
this like tenuous like agreement, like like they get along but they don't really want to have anything to do with each other kind of thing.
Yeah, two potentialities.
Yeah.
Yeah, but within the same body of consciousness.
Yeah.
Two dividing cells which are still adjacent to each other. They know of each other, they interact, maybe they even share resources and energy, but they're two different cells now. And one can potentially experience apoptosis.
what what's apoptosis again?
Oh, death of a cell.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So apocalypse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What, and I've heard Dennis McKenna say that like that for humanity into the earth, or like for humanity to survive, um not only do we need to turn the earth into like a Garden of Eden, but also a large population of the earth has to leave it. And there's going to be people who want to explore like space and other planets. And so and it's also like I think of it too as like, your neighborhood friends, like some people left and then some people stayed home,
Hmm.
and so it's like a perfectly natural thing. And then to hear what you describe Bashar as like, oh yeah, it's like a dividing of the cell. It's just nature happening again. you
Yeah.
know you know what I mean, like it's just nature doing what it does.
Yeah.
is it just splits and divides and multiplies and then expresses variation.
Which on a grand level is what the multiverse is. You know, it's
Yeah.
the splitting of universes into multiple universes, becoming a multiverse. Who knows what the grandest perspective view on the multiverse is, but that would be interesting.
Yeah.
My mind cannot run that
Wh-
program of viewing something like that.
when I
But
try to think about it, I want to puke. Like I'm kind of getting
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Dude, I've had that reaction before too, where something is just like so kind of like perceptually challenging that like it creates a sort of uh uh like
visceral.
yeah, like a visceral like like wanting to purge. Like a lot of people feel that during kind of like the awakening process too. Like a lot of people have like you've seen Sanchi by now, for example. I think
Oh yeah.
uh, I'm supposed to talk to her again pretty soon. By the way, I love talking to her. She's really funny.
Mhm.
And she's really sincere. I, I like talking to her. Anyway, she's had a couple moments where like we're talking about this and she's like, I need to throw up. And she's like, I feel sick, I feel nauseous. And that's we're clearly just expanding the parameters a little too quick in those moments. But it's a funny thing to notice what when you know what was once a combined consciousness as it expands outside of its parameters, like there's these energetic visceral reactions of the body like trying to maintain selfhood, and that is kind of like the feeling of purging, to remind yourself like, hey, let's not expand too much here, you'll get sick.
did did I yeah, I'm curious. I mean, it's also something that happens in ceremony,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just so I take it as like always a really good sign.
It is.
I
It's a purge of past paradigms.
uh there was a story that I was told by one of my qigong teachers, from his teacher. They were doing like a weekend workshop thing, and like I guess like the energy got really intense, and he went to go put his hand on the wall, and his hand went through the wall, and all the people that saw it, there's three reactions. Oh wait, no. Oh no, I added the third one in the story. But there's two reactions. Either they passed out or they started hysterically laughing. And then as my professor was telling the story, I was like, and the third would be the third was them puking.
Yeah, yeah, which was probably one of the responses. You're probably right, because that's a very natural response too. But
Yeah,
yeah, all of those are symbolic of energetics. They're all symbolic of degrees of acceptance. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Whereas like the purging one, or it is like you're able to see it,
yeah,
at least, but not really accept it. So you're purging like past paradigms. The ones that passed out are completely unable to even see it.
yeah.
And the
They don't
ones that
even remember it.
started laughing were in just pure acceptance of what is, but still had no ability to cope to the point where it was normal for them. It was still outside the normal paradigm, to where laughter was a symbolic representation of the energy of like being able to be in the proximity of witnessing it, but not full acceptance to the point where it's in your normally accepted living, but the body still has this energetic reaction because it's not normal. So it has a
Yeah,
not normal reaction necessarily. Which,
they he called it as like your what do you call it, jerky or something, basically like your sense of identity has these like teeth around it, and then when you like bump up to them, that's when everything gets like hairy, and so it's slowly expanding that the boundaries of that.
yeah, that totally makes sense.
Man, I really want my boundaries fully expanded. I really
Yeah,
want it to be
yeah,
open.
it's just about then exploring where they actually are.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I like doing with time, for example, is trying to find a beginning point to now. When does now begin?
It's always been.
You
That's
can't find
what's
it. Can you find an end to now?
no. You have to slice it.
And it's only
And
the
that's just a
mind that does
concept.
that. Yeah,
Huh?
it's only the mind that does that to try to preserve a sense of it thinking it knows something.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that's one of the things that you can do with time to find the parameters of time. And in that, as you continue to explore that, that just dissolves time completely into the eternal now. It just becomes the eternal now.
Well,
And
when I look at it directly, it feels very spacious and panoramic. It almost feels like the concept of time has now been pushed out to become like a bubble that's outside of my experience.
yeah, dare
And
you to
then
try to
now is
find the parameters of the bubble. Like, where is the
yeah.
actual edge of the bubble? Because it's still the mind thinking there's a bubble. It's just a wider bubble.
Yeah, it's when it, and it's like the notion of a bubble, but the actual experience is like it's it's not literally a bubble with like edges and boundaries. It's just like all of a sudden I was like in my mind and you were like in experience of time, and then when looking at it directly, it's almost like that notion just goes, and there's just now. There's just experience.
Isn't that fucking peculiar? That's one of the doorways to the living mystery. That's one of the
Mhm,
ways to get there. Understand clearly that there is no beginning or end to now. You can't find one. So stick with
mhm,
your direct experience,
mhm,
and you'll quickly realize if you're very honest with yourself that now just must be eternal.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
there's no concepts of body there. Body's not eternal.
mhm, mhm,
In just pure experience, there's no body, there's just sensation. And that
mhm,
sensation is just flowing through this eternal now that has no beginning or end. You can't
mhm.
find one because there isn't one. That's eternity.
So what do you mean that there's no body in the now?
Well, the body is just a thought form. We've kind of established that. Like the body is
Yeah,
a thought form. Like in order for you to know that there's a body, there's like a thought that
it's
you are this body.
yeah. No, I've actually had okay, now I get what you're saying. Because I've had that a lot. That happens every time I sit down to meditate, where it's like I drop into sensation and then there's an immediate recognition of the difference between experience of sensation and then like the thought form of me and my body. Like, and that's why sometimes open eye meditation is almost easier for me
Hmm.
because I can't, I look back for me and there's nothing to find.
Hmm.
But then when my eyes are closed, it's almost, I'll like, I'll look into the darkness and it's harder because I have to like look at what's arising in the darkness to then look back and see I can't find myself because otherwise when I close my eyes it's too easy for me to think of like, oh, I'm just behind my eyelids. You know what I mean?
But of course, that's a thought.
Totally. I know it's a thought, but I'm saying it's harder to disidentify. I recognize it as a thought and a form, and through regular experience I know that it's just that thought form is a separate object appearing in experience.
Hmm.
And sometimes it can, like with the anxiety, where it became identified. And then when I allowed it, it became a part of the full experience.
Mm.
Sometimes I get to a place of acceptance where that that like thought form of me and my body can sit alongside the spectrum of all the other experience,
Mm.
and it's not so centralized, it's been decentralized, and then there's just the experience, but it's
As
so
just part of the
grabby.
sensory experience.
Yeah, but it's still so grabby, like it's so sticky that it's so easy to get like I can rest into not non-attachment to it, but it's still so sticky and
Hmm.
easy for to get caught up in identifying as it,
Yeah, totally.
and I think just general impatience, and I try to like obliterate it. And it doesn't fucking work. That
Yeah,
makes things worse. So I remember one time where you told me it was like, it's like you have to really relax into it.
yeah.
Because sometimes I can, and I don't even know where the force is coming from. Maybe force of focus. Sometimes with force, there will be clarity of like one time you walked me through a inquiry, and it was like this that sense of self fully blipped out,
Hmm.
and it was just this moment of pure, and even now looking back on it, it's like, was this a dream? Did I actually even experience this? But it was just like a full clarity of like, whoa, the self was gone, yet presence remained.
Yes.
And it was so freeing. And then I was like so attached to creating those conditions again, but then
Mm.
like I couldn't use force. And I remember one time you saying you have to relax into it. And I think that's what led me into the back into the listening practice,
Mm.
because it's just
Which
so
is a good one.
relaxed. Huh?
Yeah, which is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah.
the pure listening to experience is another way of just allowing
Yeah.
what is and becoming fully sensorily uh accepting of the present moment or
Yeah.
presence. Yeah,
Yeah.
really are you are just this alive presence.
Mhm.
And of course that's a concept until you truly investigate everything and it just dissolves into alive presence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just about this investigation. Like you're at the point where you know that you are just this consciousness,
Hmm.
right? And so
Hmm.
now it's just about investigating what is this consciousness's relationship to everything else.
Mm.
Like for example, me holding this beer bottle, like the mind says this is a beer bottle that's separate from me. If I actually go into direct experience of this and just actually look at all of the sensations, including sight, which
Hmm.
seems to project something over here, a sense of distance.
Hmm.
However, if I'm being really honest with my direct experience, this is in my awareness just as much as my eyeballs are in my awareness.
Hmm.
And so the distance between here and here is a projection of thought.
Mm.
Both these things are equally central to my awareness. My
Yeah.
awareness is not centralized.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. It's like it has like the feeling of almost being like bird's eye view, but not,
Mhm.
kind of. Or like almost like space is awake.
Exactly.
Hmm.
That's the sense. That's the
Yeah.
sense. Earlier you said there's just this presence, and yes, there's this alive presence. You could also equally say, in a correct way, there's just this space, like you just
Hmm.
said. There's just this alive, aware space. That's what ends up becoming your kind of like lived being. It
Yeah.
feels like just a live space and everything moving through it as
There's a
modulations of it, colorations of it.
yeah. Yeah.
So like then every all those modulations, this beer bottle, for example, is self, is a modulation of self, is a
Hmm.
coloring of my own awareness.
Hmm. 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 Well, and that's what's so this is cool. I've never made this connection before, but that's what journeying is like, because the eyes are closed, the drum is pulling the thought form of Luke. It's pulling it out of the way really gently. It's like entrapping it,
Mm.
kind of. And then when you're in that space, it's just like sometimes you're aware of your spirit self as I'm like looking through my eyes, and sometimes I'm like aware of it from way back here or above it, or it doesn't matter. It's non-local,
Mm.
and then it's just like everything's just happening, but it's just not as solid as this. And it's yeah, it's cool because it's the same, just different.
It is, yeah, yeah. It is the same. Like there's so
Mhm.
many parallels in the shamanic journey or all of these other modalities of investigating the
Mhm.
nature of self and the nature of reality and the nature of consciousness, to where these all kind of dissolve into one thing.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. And because they are one
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
They're just different
It's
ways
just
of looking,
in different ways of, yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah.
different ways in which consciousness appears to itself,
Hmm.
which is the exact same thing actually as the difference between you, Luke, and me, Chris. It's just
Hmm.
two different ways of looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one substance. Like
Hmm.
that undifferentiated consciousness, pure consciousness that's looking through Luke's eyes and looking through Chris's eyes and looking through Duke's eyes and
Hmm.
looking through anything that we apply consciousness to is eyes or perception, any other sense, is the same ground of being. It is the same ground. It is
Hmm.
pure consciousness.
Hmm.
And they're all different ways of looking. It's all different ways, different lenses consciousness puts on to
Hmm.
experience itself.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. It's true.
Is true.
We really got to quit just figuring it all out.
Yeah. Yeah. They're gonna zap us pretty soon.
Yeah, totally.
Consciousness is gonna be like, all right, this game isn't fun anymore. They already ran through the game board. All right.
Yeah, they already know it.
Right.
They got the cheat codes. Who gave them the
Right.
fucking
These
cheat codes?
these guys are fucking cheating. Yeah. Yeah, it's like on Grand Theft Auto, you can put it on God mode,
Yeah.
where you're like invincible and unlimited ammo. You can do anything you want. Not that these physical characters can do that, but it's like that's kind of what consciousness becomes, because it becomes like knowingly invincible. Like you can disrupt all of this. You can cut this head off. There is
Hmm.
still this recognition of a ground of being, which is
Hmm.
just the recognition of consciousness as itself. And you that is untouchable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you become truly stabilized there, this thought of death is just a thought, like a thought of taking a piss, a thought of, you know
Taking
what
a
I mean?
shit.
You're taking a
Yeah.
shit, like you'll flush the body like you flush a shit. Like there's reverence to this, like
Hmm.
you appreciate this mode of being for the little time that it exists, but ultimately there's no grabbing onto it. There's an enjoyment of it as it is while it is, and a full knowing that this is a temporary modulation of who and what I ultimately am.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's like and also like every little death that I've had, the freshness and like vitality that's on the other side of that is always just so pleasant.
Yeah,
It's like it's just so and it's just like yeah, it's just so refreshing, you
totally.
know?
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The dropping of parameters and concepts of self and different identities that we attach ourselves to, they're comforting because you feel safe in them, But on the other side of that is freedom.
Hmm.
The more of those parameters that you can drop of
Hmm.
ideology and self and rigid modes of thought, the more you of those you can drop, they're replaced by expansiveness, this feeling of freedom.
Hmm.
This is why enlightenment is ultimate freedom.
Totally. And it's also like I've just been reflecting on how I used to feel about myself being wanting to stay like hidden and stuck. And I used to get so angry at it. And then but like now I can only see it with compassion and being like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like and like with real, yeah, with compassion and like not not pity, but just yeah, just compassion,
Yeah, yeah.
and patience. And it's like,
Yeah. A tender love.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is kind of like held in this tender love, from this perspective, this blown apart perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's kind of just cradled as that,
Hmm.
including all of it's iterations of ignorance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you see people really stuck in a paradigm, for example, and like there's not really a thought of like being a savior at all. Like you
No.
don't even try to change it for them necessarily. You just kind of like hold them in this knowing space. You know what I mean? Of just this, you accept them exactly as they are for what they're going through in that moment, and you allow it to be
Mm.
exactly as it is, exactly as they are. Because oftentimes there's this recognition that they aren't ready to let those things go. They aren't
Yeah.
ready to let those parameters that guide their life go. And so
Mm.
there's this tenderness towards it. There's this compassion, like you said. There's this allowing love,
Yeah.
like a baby
Well,
or a
yeah.
puppy.
Well, and I guess I'm like, it's, I'm curious if that's a way to work with one's own self that doesn't want to let go.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah, approach it in exactly the same tender, loving, compassionate way. Hold it
Hmm.
with love. Allow it to be.
Hmm.
Don't, yeah. Don't try to change anything about it.
Yeah.
Trying to push against what is the definition of suffering.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm. I was gonna say it, not only if I can get Duke to not be afraid of the heater.
Does he jump every time it comes on or something?
Like, you know how sometimes like when a heater's like changing um temperature, it makes a dink
Oh
noise.
yeah, yeah,
He goes, "Whoa, shit!" And he like
yeah.
gets up and
Every time.
yeah, every time he's so
Oh,
scared of it. I've tried
dude.
giving him treats, like, and I used to get so frustrated because I would like keep me up at night. He could just like stand over my bed. I get so frustrated, and now I'm like, dude, it's okay. I'm like, it's fine. But it's just
Oh,
the conversation is just reminding me of that, like reminding me to be like a little bit more patient
yeah.
with them. Is afraid of the heater that's not really going to hurt them.
Duke is such a sweetheart.
In like a camping one would be fucking sweet, and I
That's that was the original intent to just like get a group of folks around a campfire, camp in, and that's gonna happen. That's
I
definitely part of it.
I want to be there
Because
when
we
it happens.
well you and I have these conversations anyways. We've
Mhm.
always had these conversations since day one. We've had these types of conversations, spiritual,
Yeah.
in a spiritual direction, and like we've already like elucidated, with two looking, it's
Hmm.
powerful. With multiple looking in the same direction in these avenues, it's exponential. And so I would be very curious to see what happens in a person to person setting around a campfire.
Did you feel like there was any? Because I mean, I still 100% absolutely. I always feel like the strongest is in person, and it's just like this. It creates a fire,
Mm.
like within oneself. But but I also do think that like gathering even digitally can have an effect? Did you notice any, did you feel like any shift or any like change in yourself or in like in maybe what others have shared? Like, did you notice any like, did they or did you notice any shift from the gathering together?
Definitely. And in fact, I even intentionally said it very explicitly. In the second one, I said there is a real opportunity here for
Hmm.
somebody to truly realize their fundamental nature in their direct experience. And if you are super open and honest to this experience, it will be you.
Hmm.
Because that is the true potential. I don't want people to arrive at these meetings and try to gain some sort of uh better mental understanding. Like that's cool, but
Hmm.
you can also just Google that shit. Like
Hmm.
like like you're talking about, there's a real energy when people get together. And I want people to acknowledge that because in the acknowledgement of it, you feel it more viscerally. And it can then be have more an effect upon you. And so I think in recognition of that possibility, in openly, honestly saying that that is a possibility here, and in fact that is the point of satsang, to awaken, to have these conversations to the point where there is an energetic release or parameters blown open for us and everybody for the group. And yes, it did feel that way. There were definitely some energetic releases that you were like, this person has expanded in this now
Hmm.
moment. And usually usually I try to point that out because it's important for people to recognize when those parameter shifts happen, because then when they happen on their own, it's less scary. Because sometimes it can be scary. A lot of times when parameters are blown open, they can be met
Hmm.
with fear,
Hmm.
or with like you said, you can feel sort of like what, a little nauseous or whatever. And those are regular experiences. But if we can regularize not only the conversation about it, but
Hmm.
also the energetic shifts that accompany it,
Hmm.
I think that's a really powerful thing to do. It should just normalize those types of things, because I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot
Yeah.
of it in the one-on-one conversations and now in the group satsang. And the group satsang really does feel like it's taking on a sort of energy about it. Like the first one, you felt the sparks. In the second one, it felt like the kindling was
Mm.
gaining ignition. And so I am excited to see what kind of energy is there in the next couple of satsangs.
Mm. It's interesting. I I have this thing, and I want to say not as like not as a challenge or not as like a against, but like a and.
Hmm.
But I've sometimes in my experience, I feel like calling it out makes it harder,
Yeah, it can be.
or at least for me. And then also certain circles I've been in, um, it's like not kept secret, but not also point like it's like been like in the group in this group I don't talk about, or I don't talk much about like what it's going to do or what I expect it to do, because then it almost gets in the way
Hmm.
and of what the person might be uniquely experiencing. And then and then also in other times where it's like in other circles, not in like a talking circle, but in other practices, we're doing one thing, and then like a byproduct of it was that like opening, and it was, and then I was like about to share like what happened, and the teacher was just like, no. stop,
Mhm.
stop, 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 stop. Like, don't. But so just, so I'm not challenging it, but I'm just offering. I just think it's interesting the different ways that it can be approached.
No,
You
and
know.
I think what you're saying is super valuable, and I want to highlight it because you're right. If when you talk about it, you can take the magic out of it. You can take the actual happening out of it because then people look to expect that as like an event happening. And in the looking for that event to happen,
Hmm.
there's a tension there that doesn't allow it to happen,
Hmm.
and so that's a real possibility. My counter argument to that, and it's not really a
Hmm.
counter argument because that's true, that's
Hmm.
real, that happens. But also what happens is if people can hear that this is a real possibility and
Hmm.
it's felt more close to them than the
Hmm.
guru on the mountain.
Yeah.
That this experience, that this enlightenment is reserved for a special few that live in a cave in the Himalayas.
Hmm.
That's been the thought. That's been the leading thought for the last, you know, hundreds of years in which, Buddhism is kind of and the Enlightenment culture has kind of been reserved for the monastery or reserved for the
Hmm.
cave, reserved for the cushion. I'm trying to bring it out of the cave. I'm trying to bring it off the mountaintop. I'm
Hmm.
trying to bring meditation off of the cushion and
Hmm.
trying to make this shit very, very practical and
Hmm.
saying, hey, this is a real possibility for you here and now. You don't need any sort of specialness. You don't need any sort of an initiation or 10 years sitting in silence. You
Hmm.
don't need anything outside of who and what you are right now to discover this because it's already the case. And the more I can bring this into the visceral feeling of nowness, of here-ness for people, in my experience, that's potent. That can result in things. And I've seen it. I've seen parameters be let loose. I've seen people gain greater senses of freedom through these conversations.
Hmm.
And so what you're saying is true. And that is a real hurdle.
Hmm.
That can be a stumbling block. But that's also the reason where I most often try to bring people into what we've called the living mystery,
Hmm.
the light of knowing, where there is just no knowability, no grasping to any known concepts. And then I just sit them there. And I don't tell them what to expect. Like
Hmm.
once I just try to get people to there. And it takes words oftentimes to get people into that energetic place of looking. And so like words are necessary up until that point. And then there's the total release of descriptors. And I just try to bring people there to that living mystery.
And that actually reminds me of something I literally just read today. Was this book on pulse diagnosis by Bob Flaws? He's like a guy. He's like a not Chinese guy, but in the beginning, he talks about when he was working with the Tibetan medicine, um, or he was working with Tibetan language lesson, and his teacher had him start by spelling out the Tibetan word Lao, which means easy, and it was ensuring a good omen at the beginning. And he's reckoned it to like same thing with like learning pulse diagnosis or learning anything that's hard, understanding that it's easy and accessible is encouraging for like continuing to take the action.
Mm, yep.
It encourages like it is possible. It's like encourage, and that's what I hear you saying, and I
Yeah.
totally get it. And
Eh,
also kind of reminds me of kind of like an opening invocation
mm,
for the container. It's like dropping that intention or that like invocation of like this is here right now and
mm,
it's accessible now for everyone.
hmm
It's just yeah. So totally I get that. I get it.
Yeah. And there's a recognition and a saying so that the potency is not in the words. It's not in anything that I'm saying. It's only in the place that you arrive at
Mhm.
as a result of maybe the words guiding you. Like the words are just a map.
Hmm.
they're just a symbolic of the terrain. But the map is not the terrain.
Hmm.
I'm just offering a map. You need to go to the terrain
Hmm. Hmm.
inside yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's, yeah, and it's all about the direct experience of whatever's happening. Yeah.
That's the only thing that I guide to is people's direct experience. Yeah. And
Hmm.
it can take words, but those words can give people the confidence and comfortability to be able to sit in the unknown,
Yeah,
to know that like I'm not going to die if I sit in the unknown.
totally. Yeah. Well, man, it's like I certainly have an attachment now to the experience of when the sense of separate self blips out, because it's like every time has been splendid. I'm like, yeah.
So a better way to frame that I've
Yeah,
found is not necessarily that there's an attachment to
yeah,
that, but that there's now a gravitational pull of the truth. The truth has a
100%.
gravity, and so that's what you're feeling. It's not an attachment, it's a gravity.
Totally. And I remember you here. I love connecting multiple, like, I love connecting different systems and models and seeing how like things are interwoven, interconnected. But I remember you telling me before, like, this has a gravity. And I remember you saying that you were unsure whether to like this was before you started doing posts and stuff, and you were unsure because you're like, it does have a gravity. And like I don't know if people are like ready for it or whatever. And I remember thinking like, huh, that is, yeah, kind of spooky. But then I like that always stayed with me with the gravity. And in Qigong, uh so everything's chi, and we call it yin yang, but really it's one, but they have different qualities. And yang chi feels like static electricity. It's like I've in one book described, he describes it as like the solar quality of energy, and that yin energy is like gravity, and it's like this inward pulling. And I've in direct experience I've felt yin chi and yang chi, and it's like what is more supremely yin than the pure awareness, pure emptiness, it's the, and then there's expression out of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it does have a gravity. And it's, and into what you're saying, yeah, those experiences, I'm so grateful that I've had enough experiences where it's like I'm not afraid to sit in that space. It's just a matter of like, as far as I can tell, just repeating it over and over and over.
Yeah, when you're no longer scared of it, it's almost like you've escaped orbit. You've escaped like the pull of identity self, and
Hmm.
now you're able to kind of free float and be pulled by like no longer physical gravity, but now a spiritual gravity. You've escaped orbit of the personal identity pull, and
Yeah.
now you're entering into the orbit of the true essence here.
When and now the personal identity pull is in a different direction, where it's like where I was saying, like I was trying to like force it to happening, but then that's more of the identity that's, like the quote from Rupert Spira I really like that I've mentioned to you before is that ego is not an entity that seeks and resists. Ego is the activity of seeking and resisting.
Hmm.
And so then it's like it it was like was, I was seeking the experience rather than allowing its own natural progression of falling away.
Hmm.
And this conversation has helped me clarify that immensely, of just like, at least there's like a go-to step, or like still staying present to whatever the situation is calling for and allowing that. But it's just a good reminder to like, oh, the seeking and resisting has taken on a new appearance, whereas before it was really seeking and holding on to maintaining hidden, and now it's just seeking, apparently trying to like unsheath itself. But it's like, buddy, you don't have the control. It's not about control.
Yeah.
It's literally not even about control.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, what you're describing is literally what's called like the dissipation of the seeker energy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as soon as like the tension that is inbuilt, or like the seeker energy is like the activity of seeking. As soon as
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of subsides, then it's revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the energy of seeking, just like the energy of resisting is the ego. The energy of seeking is the seeker, and it keeps
Yeah,
you from the experience in the same way.
totally.
That's why eventually the seeker must be let go of. Like the path, like the this is the pathless path. The direct path is the pathless path because you let go of the seeker. You're no longer identified with a seeker, spiritual seeker on the
Yeah,
path to enlightenment. You're like, no, the path is made of enlightenment. The
yeah,
seeker is made of enlightenment.
yeah. When I even have, it's even that same level of refinement is even happening not just in my spiritual practice, my meditation practice, but it's happening in the way I show up for like my homework.
Hmm.
Like where I was like trying to learn, must learn, force it, and then it's like, or avoid it, avoid it, avoid it. And now I'm just like sitting in it and then just doing it and just enjoying it, like enjoying the process of learning instead of trying to learn or like doing everything I can to not do my homework.
And
It's funny how it happens multidimensionally. Like it's like happening everywhere all at once.
and the more that you notice that, the more that
Yeah.
you notice that it's permeating even the homework, the more you're welcoming it into being recognized as all things.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yes. It even I even there was even a moment today where old thought loop of like who I want to be, what I want to look like, all these things like trying like popped up. And there was just a moment where it was like that was happening, and then there was an observation just went, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's ego activity. It's like, oh, and then it just kind of dropped. It's like, huh. I was like, I suppose I'll just dress and decorate myself however I enjoy doing when it's time to do that. Like it's a,
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
exactly. And notice that that's freedom. Notice
Yeah,
the freedom in that.
yeah.
Not having to
No,
show up
totally.
any way, any prescribed way, not having to look a certain way. It'll just trusting that like you'll show up the way you you're gonna show up. Like
Hmm.
and there can be intention there, that's fine, but like to project it is not helpful, and it's the activity of resisting.
Hmm.
It's the ego,
Hmm.
the activity of resisting
Hmm. Hmm.
is what that projection is.
Oh, my head hurts. I
I'm
think I'm
tired.
tired.
Thanks. I wonder how long we've been talking. 4 hours almost.
We've been talking for 4 hours.
Well, if we jumped on at 7, it's 10:41, so like 3 hours and 41 minutes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's cool, man. I'm really grateful that we got to catch up and talk.
me
Really
too.
enjoyed it.
Me too. Well, get some sleeps.
Yeah, you too, man.
I will. Love you, Luke.
Love you too, Chris.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
If you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you. All my love.